we are back here on the GSMC Football Podcast. And we are back here on the GSMC Football Podcast. And
keep yourself in the loop of everything football on the Golden State Media Concepts Football Podcast. The latest news on and off the field, be it college football, Big Ten, SEC, Big 12, Pac-12, ACC to the NFL. We've got you covered. Listen to the Golden State Media Concepts Football Podcast.
And welcome everybody to another edition of the GSMC Football Podcast, brought to you by the GSMC Sports Network. As always, I'm your host, Kenneth Grunfelder, and it's great to have you guys here on this Wednesday, September 4th. We have a lot to talk about on the show today. Before I get into that, just want to remind you guys to tip or donate and get your comment recognized. Make sure to go to the dollar sign icon in the chat. This will create a super chat for you. Any comment, anything you want to say on the live broadcast, it'll be highlighted. I will acknowledge it. And it just makes the show more lively between myself, the host, and you guys, the viewers. Any contribution that you make or can make to the show means the world to us. And also the other way to help out the show is by going to the link, gsmcpodcast.net. And again, any contribution that you guys can make to the show means the world to us as we give you guys content each and every day, Monday through Friday. So let's get into what we are going to discuss for today. So we're going to start off the show, talk about a couple things with the 49ers. Christian McCaffrey returning to practice, was dealing with a calf injury, but he's practicing, so looks like he's going to be good to go for the Monday night matchup against the Jets coming up. And also Trent Williams and the 49ers were able to come to an agreement on a new contract. I think I did bring that up during the show yesterday, but that's a big deal. And they were already in communication after they got everything squared away with Brandon Ayuk, but they were able to get things done. So he's back. So the 49ers are basically at full strength on offense going into this game against the Jets. So we'll talk about that. Then in the second part of the show, we'll talk about Stefon Diggs, some recent comments he had, calling out his critics and just some of the things that he had to say about last season with the Bills. Then we'll talk about some of the matchups that I'm excited for going into Week 1. That was a topic of conversation yesterday in our production meeting. Some of the other hosts were doing topics on that, so I thought, I would do that as well. And then in the final two segments, I will do standings predictions. So we'll do the AFC North in the fourth part of the show, and then in the last part of the show, I will cover the AFC South as well. I'll give you my predictions for that division as well. So with that being said, let's get into the first topic, which is talking about the 49ers. So a couple things to go over there. And the first thing is Christian McCaffrey, of course, returning to practice. I was dealing with a calf injury basically throughout the whole summer. And obviously, that's an injury that, isn't easy to deal with. And McCaffrey has been able to play pretty much every game since the 49ers acquired him a couple of years ago. Because with the Panthers, he did miss a lot of time the last couple of years he was there. And, the 49ers, they want to be very careful with him because he is a huge part of what they do. And, should have won MVP last year, or at least was one of the 9 quarterbacks that should have won MVP last year. He was unbelievable. And, yeah, the 49ers, they want to make sure that he's right because they don't want him to, aggravate that even more, and then he's out. Because the 49ers, they're a little bit thin at the running back position behind McCaffrey. Because Elijah Mitchell, he's out for the year. He got put on season-ending injured reserve. And he's a guy that has been banged up a lot over the course of his career. He can't stay on the field in his short career. So they're a little bit thin there. They got Jordan Mason as the RB2, but if McCaffrey goes down, that would be a huge problem for the 49ers. But at least for the moment, he's back, and he's ready to go for this matchup against the Jets. But yeah, he's had a history of injury concerns. During 2020 and 2021, he played in only 10 games with the Panthers. But he has stayed healthy the last couple of years. He appeared in all 17 games in 2022 and last year in 16 games. And I think the one game was, of course, the finale against the Rams last year. And he led the NFL last year with 1,459 rushing yards, 564 receiving yards, and 21 total touchdowns. So I don't know if he's going to get to 21 this year, but he's definitely going to score a lot of touchdowns if he's on the field. He did get Offensive Player of the Year last year, has 3 Pro Bowls, 2 first-team All-Pro nods. So, an impressive resume for him. But like I said, kind of thin when it comes to the depth behind him. So hopefully they don't have to use their depth. Now, Jordan Mason's going to come in to give him a little bit of a break from time to time. And the 49ers are of course, one of the best teams in the NFL. So there's going to be some games where they're going to be blowing teams out. And they'll probably pull McCaffrey and give Mason, the rest of the workload in mop-up time. But let's hope that we don't have to get to that point where, Jordan Mason has to take over. But again, McCaffrey is one of the best players in the NFL, and he plays for one of the best teams in the NFL, and the 49ers want to make sure that, he stays healthy. And they already were talking about monitoring his workload throughout the year. So, but the good news is he's back at practice. But then I also wanted to get to Trent Williams as well. So this was the other star player for the Niners that wanted a new deal. They finally got all the Brandon Ayuk stuff squared away. But Trent Williams is a very important player on this offense as well, because he is the best left tackle in the NFL. Protects Brock Purdy. And when he was out, along with Deebo Samuel last year, the 49ers struggled. And they cannot afford to go into this game against the Jets, who have a very good pass rush, without their left tackle. And now he's going to be there. He got his new contract. And that contract is a 3-year deal, $82.66 million, $48 million guaranteed, and pretty much a $25.7 million signing bonus, totaling $103 million in guarantees since Williams joined the 49ers in 2021. Now, this will make him, so he'll make $27.6 million in salary in 2024, and that's the highest cash payout for any lineman in the first year of a contract. So getting him back is huge. And, now the 49ers on offense, they go in at full strength going up against the Jets. And we'll talk about that matchup a little bit later in the show, but that's one of the more intriguing matchups of Week 1. Because, for the Jets, they got Aaron Rodgers coming back, and I just want to see Aaron Rodgers play a full game for the Jets. And they got a very good pass rush. So we'll see how that game plays out, but getting McCaffrey back and Trent Williams back is huge. And yeah, like I said, the 49ers are basically at full strength. On defense, they're still going to be missing Dre Greenlaw because he's still recovering from his injury that he suffered in the Super Bowl. And I don't know what the timetable is for him to return, but that is a big piece on defense that they lost. And hopefully he's able to come back at some point. But yeah, I don't see any. I'm looking right now. I don't see really any updates. I see a headline that says Dre Greenlaw shares encouraging Achilles injury update, and that was in May. So hopefully, at some point he'll come back during the year. But yeah, that's a big injury on the defensive side of the ball. But I did also want to bring this up, and I know it's kind of a touchy subject, but Also, their rookie wide receiver, Ricky Pearsall, is recovering from a gunshot wound. He was involved in a robbery. Someone tried to rob him. Ended up getting shot in the chest area, but no vital organs were hit. And, you know, I think he was released from the hospital. Because I know that an earlier update was he was in critical but stable condition. So, which I feel like that kind of contradicts the other, but needless to say, I think he was released from the hospital, and he got put on the PUP list, but yeah, he's gonna be. So he was shot more in the chest shoulder area, which again, thankfully, he's gonna be okay, but it's just. It's just another touchy subject that, it's just a reminder that, this world is, can be a scary place at times. And, but again, thankfully, he's going to be, it seems like he's going to be okay. And at some point, he will make his return to the field. And I know Deebo Samuel tweeted something, encouraging. And, yeah, but just a scary situation there. And, so he's going to miss at least the first 4 games of the season. But, I mean, we're talking about the 49ers, so I figured, bring it up. But, yeah, so he was discharged from the hospital on Sunday. But, yeah, so Pearsall was upgraded from serious to fair condition earlier Sunday. So I think that's what it was. So he was, he wasn't in great condition, but they got him to be stable. So, yeah, but he's out of the hospital, and again, that is very encouraging. So, can't wait to see him back on the field and helping out the 49ers. But, yeah, scary situation there. But, yeah, so that's basically all the 49ers stuff that I wanted to go over here in the top of the, here at the beginning of the show. Let me know what you guys think, though, about any of the stuff that I talked about. As again, 49ers are getting ready to play on Monday. So, let's see, excited to see how their players do. I know I got a few of them in fantasy, Purdy, Kittle, and Deebo. So hopefully they all have big games on Monday. So we're going to take our first break of the show. And then when we come back, we'll talk about Stefon Diggs, some of his recent comments, responding to his critics. So with that being said, stick around, and we'll be right back here on the GSMC Football Podcast.
I feel like I'm losing my mind. Is everybody in the world blind? Please, Lord, give me a sign, a sign. I feel like I'm losing my mind. Is everybody in the world blind? Please, Lord, give me a sign, a sign.
I wanna be the greatest. Everybody on the fake shit. I look around and feel like everybody is the fakest. I make this every day and I'm impatient, hoping one day I blow up from the basement. Statement, the top is so vacant. I don't hear shit that I think is amazing. Waiting for my day when I'm playing sold out shows for 1,000 faces. Hey, give me that crown, get in my way and to be put down. It ain't your place, all this my town. If I want that shit, then I'll get it right now. I'm losing it, the noose it fits, some losing shit, a stupid myth. You choose to live or choose to dip, you choose to fight or lose your grip and lose a gift. Oh,
I feel like I'm losing my mind. Is everybody in the world blind? Please, Lord, give me a sign, a sign. I feel like I'm losing my mind. Is everybody in the world blind?
All right, and we are back here on the GSMC Football Podcast. And for the second part of the show, we're going to talk about Stefon Diggs, his recent comments responding to critics, kind of talking about last year and how last year went, things like that. So I just wanted to get into some of his quotes. So this is what he had to say in a recent interview with Clay Skipper of GQ Sports. So he said, the games looked a lot different. You can blame me. I don't mind blaming me. I got big shoulders, but pay attention. Pay real close attention. Watch the game. Of course, there's plenty of plays I want back, but there's a lot of plays that didn't go my way. I need a lot of things to go right to get the ball. You can't roll out of bed and get 800 yards in the first 8 games. Your best receivers do that. Or your best receivers doing that. You tell me about the last 10. What changed? Were there changes going on? I just pay attention to what really happened and not what people try to act like happened. Like for the last 10 games, I forgot how to play football. And it is true. I do think there's some validity to that. And yeah, over the the first part of the season, he had 70 catches, 834 yards, and 7 touchdowns during that time frame, including going over 100 yards in 4 of the first 5 games of the season. But then, from week 10 on, 37 catches for 349 yards and 1 touchdown over the final 8 games. He averaged 10.8 targets per game in the first 9 games, and then 7.9 targets per game in the final 8. After week 10, now this is the loss to the Broncos, which was an ugly loss at home. The Bills fired offensive coordinator Ken Dorsey, and they replaced him with quarterbacks coach Joe Brady. And there was kind of a different approach. So through the first 10 weeks under Dorsey, now this is courtesy of an article on Bleacher Report, through the first 10 weeks under Dorsey, running back James Cook was 20th in the NFL in carries. But then he was 10th from weeks 11 through 18 under Brady. And this is kind of something that I brought up, that when the Bills changed coordinators, Stefon Diggs, wasn't really a factor. I don't think it was. Now, yeah, there were a couple of plays. Diggs, dropped some passes, but that you could look at. But I really don't think that Diggs declined. I think it was just the philosophy changed with the Bills, and the play calling was different. So it's not constantly force-feeding Stefon Diggs the ball. And I also wanted to pull up Diggs' stats from last year to put up in the background here. Well, really in the foreground. But, I don't really think that Stefon Diggs, this is what his, total stats ended up being last year with the Bills. Not a bad year. But, yeah, he got off to a great start. I mean, he had that 3-touchdown game against Miami early on. I really don't think that Diggs just fell off a cliff once they changed coordinators. I just don't think he was constantly, he wasn't, being force-fed the ball. And I don't think there's anything wrong with that, but, yeah, he just wasn't getting involved in the offense. Now, obviously, Stefon Diggs is getting older. I'm not going to say that there is no decline, but I don't think people should pretend like he just, like you said, he just forgot how to play football now because he wasn't really putting up big numbers over the last half of the year. I think there definitely is more to it. Because, go look at the game against the Cowboys. James Cook was the man in that game. He had a monster game. And Khalil Shakir was getting more involved in the offense as well. There's more to it. I don't think that Stefon Diggs just now is not a good player. I do think he's going to go to Houston, and he's going to do well. Now, he's going from one offense to another where, it's going to be different, of course. But I don't think he's going to be force-fed the ball there either. Like, he's not going to be the main guy. You know, you got other pass catchers that are going to be involved in the offense as well. So, how is he going to handle that? And I know I've brought that up. And you know what? I think, you know, as long as they're winning games, I think he'll deal with it. I mean, I know maybe in the back of his mind he's probably saying, like, you know, he wants to get the ball more. Well, first of all, the Texans haven't even played the game yet. So we got to see how it plays out. But I do think each week it's going to be a different receiver that has a big game. Now, you might have some games where multiple receivers are going to have a big game because that's how good this Texans offense is going to be, in my opinion. But Stefon Diggs is still not going to be the man. Now, there's going to be some games where he is going to be the man, where he's going to have a big game. But you got Nico Collins there. You got Tank Dell. Dalton Schultz they brought back. You know, there's a lot of pass catchers. And C.J. Stroud is a guy that's going to spread the ball around. It's not going to be just one guy that he's going to be looking for. But that's the benefits of having all of these good pass catchers around you, is you don't have to just rely on one guy. So that's one thing to look towards, is how is Stefon Diggs going to feel about that? Now, again, I don't think he's, you know, I think as long as they're winning, it'll be okay. But if it gets to a point where he's, you know, a non-factor and they're losing, then it's going to be a problem. But it's all speculation. And, you know, people are going to say, well, look at what happened in Minnesota. You know, he left Minnesota. Now he left Buffalo. You know, if he ends up being one and done in Houston and it ends badly, well, you know, people are going to point the fingers at him and saying, yeah, you're continuing to be that common denominator in all these situations. So, but I do think Diggs is going to have a good year. I do. I really don't think that he fell off a cliff. I know I keep saying that, but yeah, I just don't. I don't think he has declined as much as people may think. But that doesn't mean. Now, I don't think, like, maybe he doesn't get 1,000 yards this year, but I think that's going to be more so because of the offense that he plays in. Because again, Stroud is going to be distributing the ball to other guys, but I don't think it's going to be because he lost a step. I think he's still got good football left. But only time will tell. Only time will tell. But definitely some strong comments there by Diggs. And he's going to go out there and prove it. The Texans, they play the Colts on Sunday, which is an intriguing game. So that'll be the first time that we get to see him and how he how he does in his debut with the Texans. You know, they're playing against a team that they ended their season. Final game of the regular season. They ended the Colts season. And it could very well come down to those two teams for the AFC South. But we'll see. We'll see. So, but let me know what you guys think, though, about Diggs. What kind of season do you think he's going to have with the Texans? Like I said, I think he will have a productive season. But at the same time, he's not going to be the guy in Houston. You know, you got Nico Collins there. You got Tank Dell. You know, C.J. Stroud is going to spread the ball around. So, and Diggs knows that. But how is he going to feel? Now, I feel like if he's just not flat out not getting involved in the offense, like he's getting nothing, then, you know, there might be some frustration. But, you know, if he gets his, you know, 6 or 7 receptions, you know, he's getting targeted a decent amount each game, then, you know, I don't think there's going to be a problem. But I think it would be a problem if he's just flat out not getting involved. And, you know, the Texans are not playing well because of that. Because he feels like he can contribute. And I definitely think he is. I definitely think he will. So we'll have to wait and see on that. But yeah, let me know what you guys think though about Diggs. How do you see him doing in 2024? But actually, I wanted to go back to this because I do want to remind you guys once again to tip or donate and get your comments recognized. Make sure to go to the $ icon in the chat. Any comment, any thought that you might have that you want to see on the live broadcast, you can put that as a super chat. I will acknowledge it during the live broadcast, and it just makes the show more lively, more interactive between you guys and myself, the host. Any contribution you can make to the show means the world to us. And if you want to do it the alternative way, that is also another way to help out the show. You can go to the link at the bottom of the show segment on the ticker. That is GSMCpodcast.net. And like I said, any contribution that you guys can make to the show means the world to us as we give you guys content each and every day, every Monday through Friday. So when we come back from our next break, we'll talk about some of the best matchups going into the weekend, some of my favorite matchups that I'm looking forward to seeing, and that will be the third part of the show because there's a decent amount. You know, it's a decent week one slate, and we got football games, you know, between the NFL and college. Tomorrow, we got games from Thursday all the way up until Monday, which is great. Is great for us. So, yeah, we'll get into the top matchups for the week one slate when we come back from our second break of the show. So, with that being said, stick around, and we'll be right back here on the GSMC Football Podcast.
Looking for your daily fix of sports talk without having to pay for it? GSMC Sports Network is available on YouTube. Just search GSMC Sports Network. Get your fix of daily sports talk shows on YouTube, absolutely free. NFL, college football, NBA, MLB, MMA, UFC, fantasy football, and so much more. GSMC Sports Network has shows running all day long, with new sports shows starting every 2 hours. Just like on your favorite cable sports channel, except GSMC Sports Network is absolutely free. Just search GSMC Sports Network on YouTube to catch one of your new favorite shows, like the GSMC College Football Podcast, Chip Shot Football Podcast, Hoops and Heels Women's Sports Podcast, GSMC Basketball Podcast, and so many more. Check it out for yourself. GSMC Sports Network, now available on YouTube absolutely free. Search GSMC Sports Network on YouTube right now.
All right, and we are back here on the GSMC Football Podcast. And for the third part of the show, we're going to talk about some of the best matchups in the week one slate, the ones that I'm most looking forward to. And, I mean, the first two games of the slate come tomorrow night and Friday night. And that's, of course, the kickoff game, opening kickoff between the Ravens and the Chiefs. Of course, that's the AFC Championship game rematch from last year. And, of course, you know, I did talk about, you know, the history between the two quarterbacks, Lamar Jackson and Patrick Mahomes. You know, it's another matchup in that saga, and I'm really looking forward to it. And, of course, you know, you also got Derrick Henry making his debut with the Ravens as well. You know, what kind of difference can he make now that he's brought into the fold? This is a team that loves to run the football, and he's the king. So, you know, I'm really looking forward to, you know, seeing those two work together, Lamar Jackson and Derrick Henry. But, of course, again, it's just another, you know, chapter in the Mahomes-Jackson saga. So I am, you know, looking forward to that. You know, I'm locked in for it. You know, gonna be an interesting game. You know, can the Ravens set the tone and avenge their championship loss from last year, or are the Chiefs just going to continue to roll? Now, Travis Kelce will be playing in this game. Last year, he did not play in the season opener for the Chiefs. And, of course, you got Xavier Worthy, who's now brought into the fold, their rookie wide receiver. So, yeah, I'm really looking forward to this game. And the other thing, too, is the Yankees are off tomorrow, so my sole focus is going to be on this game. Now, it probably would still be on this game anyways because football is back, and also because the Yankees continue to frustrate me in new ways, including last night. But all my attention is going to be on this game tomorrow night. So I'm really looking forward to it. But yeah, that's one of the games that I'm excited for. The other one is, of course, Friday night, Eagles and the Packers. I did go over that quarterback matchup as well between Jordan Love and Jalen Hurts. And yeah, this is one of the best games as well. This could be the game of the week because I think this game has the potential, I think, to be high scoring. This game could be a shootout, possibly. A lot of talent on both sides of the ball. The Eagles, of course, with their two stud receivers, A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith. Of course, Saquon Barkley making his debut as an Eagle. Those stings a little bit, but still, let's see what he could do now behind a good offensive line. And then on the other side, you got the other running back that was signed by the Packers, their new running back, Josh Jacobs. Let's see what he does for them this year. I mean, hopefully he's a monster. I drafted him in fantasy I got him in the 3rd round in my redraft league, and I'm hoping that, he has a big year. And, he's really going to be relied upon because, they did bring back A.J. Dillon, but he's going to be out for the year with a neck injury. They did draft Marshawn Lloyd. They still have Emmanuel Wilson, but it's going to be Josh Jacobs. And then, of course, how is Jordan Love going to be in year 2 as the full-time starter for the Packers? I actually did want to acknowledge a comment on one of my videos from yesterday, and it was on the Packers. Well, it was on the Jordan Love Jalen Hurts segment that I did. So this is from Ezekiel Major, 5511, and this is what he said. He said, most opinions of Jordan Love are based off of the Green Bay Cowboys playoff game. Dallas stinks, so I would put too much stock. I think he meant to say so I wouldn't put too much stock, but he said I would put too much stock in that. My Eagles will be ready for him on Sunday. Bank on it. Actually, a couple of things there. So first of all, he said I would. He meant to say I wouldn't. And the Eagles are not playing. This game is not being played on Sunday. This is being played on Friday. So this Eagles fan is all over the place. He doesn't even know when his team's playing. So I said, appreciate the comment. I think it's more than just that playoff game. He played really well towards the end of the year. He beat the Lions on the road on Thanksgiving and the Chiefs in prime time. He's still got more to prove, of course, but it was more than just the playoff game versus the Cowboys. Should be a great game on Friday. Yeah, because there really was more to it than just the playoff game against the Cowboys. He did have some really good games down the stretch. Beat Mahomes in prime time. And that, also helped. Those two games between the Lions and the Chiefs, they won those two games. That turned their season around. So don't pretend like it was just a playoff game against the Cowboys. Well, he had to have some good games to get him to that point, to play the Cowboys in the playoffs. So you can't just say that it was just a playoff game. But also, you got to know when your team's playing. Your team is not playing on Sunday. They're playing on Friday. So I didn't even really think about that. But anyways, that's one of the best games of the weekend as well. Also, I'm not going to say this is one of the best games of the weekend, but I will be there in person, and that's Giants-Vikings. But just wanted to acknowledge that. I think the Cowboys and the Browns, that's going to be a good game. The Cowboys with their all-in offseason, which really wasn't all-in, except all-in for their stars. How are they going to do? How is that offense going to do against this pass rush of the Browns? How is Deshaun Watson going to look coming back from injury. That's a game I'm curious to see how that plays out. I'm gonna be keeping up with it, as we're traveling back from the Giant game, because we're taking my parents and I are taking a bus there. And there's gonna be a whole tailgate. It's gonna be a lot of fun. Just hope the game is good. But I'll be keeping up with, the late slate on my phone as we're traveling back. But yeah, I think that has the potential to be one of the best games of the weekend as well. Also, Cardinals-Bills can be intriguing. And Kyler Murray is healthy, and usually when he starts, the Cardinals, they usually get off to, good starts, fast starts. But, obviously last year, recovering from the ACL, came back later in the year. And the Cardinals, people look at them as being a team that's going to make improvements and maybe could be a team that, sneaks in as a wild card. Who knows? But, you got that offense, Marvin Harrison Jr. making his debut. And then, of course, on the other side, you got Josh Allen and the Bills. How is Josh Allen going to do with, all the new wide receivers that he has at his disposal? That has the potential to be a good game as well. But, of course, the last two games that I wanted to get to, now, obviously, there's Caleb Williams' debut. But these two games that I'm going to talk about towards the end of this segment here, these are going to be good games. So you got Stafford making his return to Detroit once again, and that was one of the best playoff games last year. Lions won that by a point, and I think we're in for another good game. Now, I'm kind of leaning towards taking the Rams in this matchup here, but I do expect this to be another good game. Stafford coming home, part 2. Should be a lot of fun. Obviously, the Lions, they want to take it a step further this year. They came very close to making it to the Super Bowl. They had a big lead against the 49ers, and they lost it. But this year, they're looking to take that next step and get to the Super Bowl. And we'll see if they can do that. This is one of the best games of the weekend right here. And then finally, it's the last game of the weekend. And that is the Jets and the 49ers. And it's really for one. Now, of course, I did bring it up. The 49ers got all their players signed and, they got all the stars, so you're excited to see them. But for one reason only, and that is Aaron Rodgers making his return to the field. How is he going to do? This is a team that has given him problems in the past, particularly in the playoffs. Does well against them during the regular season, but in the playoffs, he's had problems with them. But that's really what I am most interested in, is him making it through an entire game. And how does he look? How does he look with this team? The Jets tried to improve this offensive line. Let's see if it pays off. They brought in Mike Williams. Let's see what Breece Hall could do. Now in year 3, Garrett Wilson in year 3. Backed up by a really good defense against the best team in the NFC. How is Aaron Rodgers going to look? And I hope he goes out there and plays really well on Monday. But that is what I'm most interested in. This has the potential to be a very good game if Rodgers, can play a good game. And how does Brock Purdy deal with that Jets pass rush? Now he's got Trent Williams back, which is big. But let's see what happens. That's a game I am very interested in and will be watching very closely. And I just want to see Aaron Rodgers go out there and play a full game for the Jets so we could see what he looks like as a Jet, because we really didn't see it. We saw him throw that touchdown pass to Garrett Wilson in the preseason game last year against the Giants, and then he was running out with the American flag last year. But that was it. Handed off to Breece Hall against Buffalo. He had a big run, and then and then he got hurt. So I want to see Aaron Rodgers get through a full game. Let's see what he looks like as the Jets quarterback. But yeah, I'm hoping for the best, really, and I think a lot of people are too. He's one of the best quarterbacks of our generation. I last year that was horrible. Let's see what he does this year. But yeah, those are the games that I'm excited for. Let me know what you guys think. What games are you most excited for this week 1 slate? From this week 1 slate, let me know in the comments. So we're going to take our next break. And then when we come back, last 2 segments here, we'll be doing standings predictions. We'll be going over the AFC North first when we come back from our next break. So with that being said, stick around. And we'll be right back here on the GSMC Football Podcast.
For the best and latest podcasts available anywhere, go to the podcast app on your cell phone and type in GSMC to access free content-rich podcasts on health and wellness, book reviews, sports, entertainment, relationships, social media, movies, technology, finance, and even weird news. Subscribe and download the GSMC Podcast Network's family of shows, available everywhere podcasts are found.
All right, and we are back here on the GSMC Football Podcast. And for the fourth part of the show, we are now going to get into the final 2 segments here. Standings predictions. So let's get into them. So we'll start off with the AFC North, and then in the final segment we'll do the AFC South. So when it comes to the AFC North, I said it over and over again. This is the best division in football. And I think, now, this is what I got here. I got every team finishing with a winning record. Now, I do have the Bengals and the Ravens making the playoffs. Tomorrow I'll go over my playoff teams. But this is what I got for the division. And for me, when it comes to the Steelers, we'll start with the Steelers. Now, I know their offense struggled in the preseason. I understand that. But, until proven otherwise, with Mike Tomlin as the head coach, I'm going to say they somehow still find a way to finish with a winning record. And I know Steeler fans are not going to be happy because they want to see more. They want to see more. I was watching the highlights the other night. It's been a long time since this team has won a playoff game. It's been a long time. And they've made the playoffs, but they haven't won. They made it in 2020, in 21, last year, but they're one and done. And to me, the way I have it, they're on the outside looking in, once again. And that's not good enough. Now, it also doesn't help that they play in a tough division, the toughest division in football. But that's just how I see it right now. Now, last year, they did kind of benefit from the Bengals, and Burrow getting hurt, because they ended up sweeping the season series with the Bengals. And Joe Burrow didn't play in either of those games. Now, if Burrow does play, How do those games go very differently. And the Steelers' schedule towards the second half of the year is brutal because they play all these teams right here in their division. They play the Chiefs on Christmas. They play the Eagles, I believe. It's a very tough schedule. And I don't know why the NFL decided to do that. But I do think I'm going to give them that respect. They're going to somehow find a way, some way, somehow, to get to 9 wins. Because Mike Tomlin has never finished with a losing record. But again, that's not good enough for the Steelers. Steeler fans are going to be very frustrated. We could very well see Russell Wilson and Justin Fields play their fair share of games throughout the year. Russell Wilson's at least going to start. And then we'll see if they go to Justin Fields at some point. But I got the Steelers at 9-8. So, and being in last place in the division. So, that's my thoughts on the Steelers. Then with the Browns, like I said, when it comes to them, I do think Deshaun Watson is going to be inconsistent throughout the year. But I do think that the Browns are going to be a good team once again. You know, they got a very good defense. And like I said, Deshaun Watson's going to have his moments where he's going to look good. And I do think that the Browns are a 10-win team. Last year, they won 11 games with 5 different starting quarterbacks. So, you know, and this year I got them finishing a game worse than that. You know, and we'll see. You know, hopefully Nick Chubb comes back at some point this year. Right now he's going to miss the first 4 games, but it's possible that he could come back, you know, much later in the season. But, you know, I liked, you know, the Jerry Jeudy trade, although, you know, giving him the 3-year extension, I don't know. I don't know how I felt about that, but I like their offense. You hope the offensive line can stay healthy because that was a problem last year. That was another group that, you know, got ravaged by injuries. You had the backfield getting hurt, you had the quarterback position, and you had the offensive line. All deal with injuries. And the Browns are kind of hoping that that doesn't happen again. But I do think 10 wins is fair for the Browns. Then for the Bengals, I got them at 11-6 in second. And this is because Joe Burrow is healthy. Healthy Joe Burrow. The Bengals are going to finish with a better record than they did last year. And we got to wait and see what happens with Jamar Chase, because he's still holding in right now. And, you know, there's no guarantee he's going to play on Sunday against the Patriots. And if that's the case, it's going to be the T. Higgins show, which is not a bad thing, because T. Higgins could definitely handle it. And with Burrow being back, that really helps. So, yeah, but I think it really all comes down to Burrow being healthy. Because if Burrow's not healthy, you know, his team's not going to win 11 games. But I do think with him back, I think 11 games is fair. But they also got to get Jamar Chase back as well. They have to get him back. So, I think 11 wins is fair for them. And then for the Ravens, I think this is the best team in the division. I'm going to give them that respect from last year because, you know, they won the division last year. They had home field. And, of course, they had the MVP in Lamar Jackson. And now you bring pretty much everybody back. You got Derrick Henry now in the fold. I think this is a 12-win team. And Lamar Jackson stayed healthy. You know, that's been a problem the last couple of years, is Lamar Jackson would get hurt late in the year, and that would derail the Ravens' season. Now, they still made the playoffs in one of those years, 2022. Tyler Huntley had to be the starter. Will take over as the starter. And he started in that playoff game against the Bengals. But you just see how this team is when Lamar Jackson is healthy. They are very good. And now bringing Derrick Henry in, again, that's one of the more intriguing things to pay attention to throughout the season, because that's going to give defenses headaches, especially towards the goal line. Because running the read option, is Jackson going to keep it? Or is Derrick Henry going to run it up the middle? Or is Derrick Henry going to throw a touchdown pass? Because, I mean, you know, we've seen that a few times. But yeah, this is what I got here for the AFC North. Let me know what you guys think, though, about my predictions here. How do you see this division playing out? Again, would not surprise me if every team in this division finishes over 500. Somebody's got to finish in last. But yeah, I got the Steelers in last. And the Steelers have a championship caliber defense, but it's just the offense that is going to be a problem, I think, this year, if the quarterbacks don't play well. So, but yeah, let me know what you guys think about the AFC North. So, when we come back from our final break of the show, we will talk about the AFC South next. And then tomorrow, I'll go over the AFC West. So tomorrow, we'll preview, of course, our first real preview of the year, Ravens Chiefs. That's how I'll open the show. I'll go through the AFC West standings, give you my predictions for those. I'll go over my playoff teams, my Super Bowl prediction, and then I'm trying to think. I think I might do like awards, like who I think is going to win what particular award. I think that's how we'll break down the show tomorrow. So it's just going to be, I mean, it's just going to be all predictions and things like that, which I'm really excited about. Can't wait for this game tomorrow night. It's going to be, like I've said constantly, it's been a long off season, so I just want to get to that point. And hopefully I'm a little bit better tomorrow, because again, still dealing with this these allergies here. So, but definitely, I mean, you can still hear it in my voice, but definitely feel better today. Well, definitely getting better each and every day. So, hopefully tomorrow I'm a little bit better. And, yeah. No, it's the season is upon us. But we're going to take another break, or our final break, and then we'll do the AFC South predictions here. So for one final time today, stick around, and we'll be right back here on the GSMC Football Podcast. All right, and we are back here on the GSMC Football Podcast. And for the final part of the show, we're going to go over the AFC South standing predictions. And again, if you're asking, or if you're wondering, I'm not crying. Again, still trying to get through, again, the allergies that we got going on here. But anyways, let's get into that. So we went over the AFC North in the last segment. Today, or now, we're going to be going through the AFC South. And this is what I got. So, and I went back and watched my schedule breakdown videos. But this is what I got. So we'll start with the Titans at 6-11. Now, they made a lot of moves this offseason. You know, they brought in Calvin Ridley, they brought in Tyler Boyd and Tony Pollard. They traded for L'Jarius Sneed over from Kansas City. And, you know, now they have a new coach, Callahan, brought over from the Bengals. So, and they also tried to make improvements, or they made improvements to the offensive line because they drafted a J.C. Latham. So they really tried to build a team around Will Levis. Now it's really up to Will Levis. How is Will Levis going to look? And he'll be taking on Caleb Williams on Sunday, and we'll see how he looks. I think it's really all going to come down to how he does. And, you know, if the improvements that they made pay off and he ends up going out there and playing well, then the Titans, maybe they are more than a 6-11 team. But I like the other teams in this division better. So that's why I kind of have them. I think this is the record that they finished with last year. So, yeah, I kind of got them finishing with the same record again. But we'll see, you know, and the receiving core that they have, and it looks like DeAndre Hopkins is going to play week 1, which is huge. But yeah, with this receiving core that they have, if this was the receiving core that they had, you know, 5 years ago, this would be one of the best receiving cores in the NFL, if not the best receiving core in the NFL. And of course, I moved something, so now my camera is acting up. But yeah, so I got them at 6-11. Then tied for second and third place, I got the Colts and the Jags at 9-8. Now, I did have the Jags at 8 wins, but I did give them one more win. You know, with the Colts, they were good last year. And this was with Gardner Minshew as the starting quarterback for most of the year. You know, Minshew did a nice job for them. And now Anthony Richardson is back. And, you know, I want to see how he looks over the course of a full season. You know, Jonathan Taylor they're going to have for the full year as well because, you know, he missed some time last year because he was, you know, trying to get a new contract. So, you know, I'm looking forward to that as well. You know, how they're going to look together over the course of a full season. And, you know, I did watch, you know, Anthony Richardson play in the preseason. And, you know, that game against the Bengals was a mixed bag because, you know, went right down the field on his first drive. And then, you know, threw a pick 6. So, you know, I mean, he's still trying to work his way back. But getting put to the test right away with playing the Texans in week 1, playing them on Sunday. So, but I do think this is a good enough team that they can get to 9 wins. And with the Jags, Look, Trevor Lawrence got a big contract. You know, in terms of AAV, I mean, he's right at the top. So, you know, he's got to go out there and live up to that contract. And we've been expecting more out of Trevor Lawrence. You know, they made the playoffs in 22. I feel like you could I've said it, throw out his rookie year because that was just a mess. 2022 was solid. Last year, you know, they were inconsistent. They were 8-3, and then the wheels just fell off. You know, hopefully the Jags do bounce back. You know, they drafted Brian Thomas Jr. Christian Kirk is hopefully healthy. You brought in Gabe Davis. You know, you tried to improve this offensive line because that's the main thing. You want to protect Trevor Lawrence. You know, on the defensive side of the ball, they brought in Eric Armstead over from the 49ers, which I think will pay off. You know, pair him up with Josh Allen, who got a new contract, and Trayvon Walker. So, oh man, my voice is really going here. I just think that I think there's gonna be a bounce back, but I don't know if it's gonna be enough to make the postseason because the AFC is loaded. Man, I know we were doing great. We were doing great this whole time, and it just, I don't know what happened. We just, towards the end here, the voice is fading out. But yeah, they just like the Jags last year, they faded out. You know, like I said, they were 8-3, and then things just fell apart. So, but part of that had to do with Trevor Lawrence, you know, getting hurt. You know, shouldn't have played in that Browns game. You know, because it looked like he had a season-ending injury against the Bengals on that Monday night, but then was able to play. You know, well, probably shouldn't have played, but played against the Browns, and he had 3 turnovers, 3 interceptions. I forget if he had a fumble or not, but yeah, it's just everything kind of fell apart for the Jags. And if they end up not making the playoffs, Doug Peterson is probably gone. So we'll see what happens, but they got a tough game on Sunday against the Dolphins, so we'll see how that goes. But that's also an intriguing matchup for, you know, just the GSMC Sports Network in general, because there has been a huge debate between Tua and Trevor Lawrence. So, not to say that this game is going to settle that debate, but there was a huge debate that went on in our production meeting. And got to keep an eye on this game. But yeah, so I got the Colts and the Jags at 9-8, and then I got the Texans at 12-5. They went 10-7 last year, exceeded expectations. You bring in Stefon Diggs. They signed Neil Hunter. I just think this team is going to take that next step. They are going to be really good. I think they're the favorites to win this division, and I think they're going to win this division once again. You know, they got a young quarterback that, you know, could be an MVP candidate this year. And I just really like what they did this offseason. You know, you hope that defense continues to improve. Because in the playoff game against the Ravens, I mean, that defense got shredded. So you're hoping that they made enough improvements there. And, you know, with Diggs, paired up with Nico Collins and Tank Dell, you're bringing Joe Mixon. There's a lot to like about this team. And DeMeco Ryans is a really good head coach. So, yeah. No, looking forward to it. Really, looking forward to watching the Texans this year and what they can accomplish. So, yeah, that's my standings predictions for the AFC South. Let me know what you guys think about those predictions. And yeah, that is pretty much it for the show for today. Again, I apologize for my voice. It's towards the end there, that was bad. But again, I'm not crying. It's just it's just something that I'm still dealing with. And hopefully, again, I've been starting to feel better. And we got through most of the show pretty much without what's going on without any mishaps. But towards the end here, yeah, it started to fade out there. So, again, hopefully we get past this. And I will, but it's just, taking longer than I wanted to. I just want it to be over so I can actually get through a whole show without losing my voice. But, yeah, so, again, thank you guys for tuning in. Make sure to check out all the other shows, as well. Give the other shows some love, like I always say. And, yeah, tomorrow is previewing Ravens-Chiefs. So can't wait for that. So, with that, that is all the time that we have for today. Again, thank you guys for tuning in. We'll be back again tomorrow, 10:30 a.m. Eastern Time. And until then, I'm Kenneth Grunfelder signing off from the GSMC Football Podcast, brought to you by the GSMC Sports Network. Have a good day, and I will talk to you guys tomorrow. Take care.